What happens when oppressed find their voices? Centuries of silence is turned into some powerful words. That's the essence of Dalit literature. Dalit literature is the literature that questions, that emerges, and that reclaims the identity. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to talk about Dalit literature, a literature that talks about the voice of oppressed. So Dalit literature is not just a literary movement, is the voice of the oppressed, is the resistance to injustice, and it's a assertion on identity. So, emerging from the historically oppressed society in India, Dalit literature talks about the voice of the lived experience of those oppressed people and how they break free from that social injustice that is incorporated to them by the social discrimination. So, today we are going to focus on Dalit literature's major writers, themes, and how it originated. So let's start our today's video on Dalit literature, and I hope you will found this video helpful. Even you can incorporate this into your research topic, or this is going to be very much essential for you, at least from the exam point of view. So Dalit voices have existed for centuries now, but they gained their momentum in the modern era only. So the first platform we can talk about this Dalit literature was the Bhakti movement, which happened between 15th to 17th century, which was one of the earliest platform we can say that was led by poets like Kabir, Tukaram, Ravi Das. They found their voice. They indirectly questions about the caste oppression or the oppression of the low caste people through their devotional poetry, which indirectly questions about the caste discrimination. But it gained its real momentum in the 20th century when Dr. B.R. Ambedkar led the intellectual fight against injustice that was faced by these oppressed people. So significantly, the first wave of Dalit literature came from Maharashtra in 1950s, particularly through the movement that is named the Dalit Panther movement that happened in 1972. So it's much like the Black Panther movement which happened in United States, which talks about the injustice that is faced by the oppressed people. So this particular movement, Dalit Panther movement, was led by Baburao, Namdeo, Dhasal, and Daya Parwar, who became the torch bearers of this particular movement. So, with time, Dalit literature expanded beyond the regional languages, entering into the literary studies, and which gives insights to the larger audience about the injustice that has happened to these oppressed people. So, as we learn that with time, Dalit literature expanded beyond the regional languages, entering mainstream English literary studies, which offers a global audience insight into these caste-based struggles. So now it's time we should learn what are the major themes that we'll find while we read a Dalit literature. So Dalit literature is deeply rooted in real life experience, and often it revolves around the themes of caste oppression and social injustice. So if we talk about the caste oppression and social injustice, it is the harsh reality, untouchability, discrimination, and violence, and they are the central themes of the Dalit literature. For example, if you take the example of Joothan, a 1997 novel by work by Omprakash Valmiki, which narrates personal struggles when he grows up as a Dalit boy. So the next theme was about identity and assertion of selfhood. So Dalit literature focuses on reclaiming lost identities and self-respect. For example, in Why I Am Not a Hindu, which published in 1996 by Kanchana Leah Sephard, who critiques that caste hierarchies and they explores the Dalit Bahujan identity. Now, if we talk about the theme of resistance and revolt, Dalit writers use literature as a form of protest while rejecting the upper caste narratives. For example, Namdeo Dhasal's fiery poetry, Golpitha, 1972 published, embodies this spirit of rebellion. And in the end, if we talk about the theme of gender and Dalit feminism, it's the intersection of caste and gender oppression, which is actually a crucial theme in our Dalit literature. For example, if we take Bama's Karukku, which published in 1992, is a powerful autobiographical novel about a Dalit Christian woman's experience. So these are some of the key themes we'll definitely find while we read about the Dalit literature work. Now, let's learn some of the major or key writers and how they contributed to the Dalit literature. First, let's talk about B.R. Ambedkar. So, primarily, B.R. Ambedkar was a social reformer, but his works like Annihilation of Caste, published in 1936, laid the ideological foundation for Dalit literature. Second, Namdeo Dhasal, who was a revolutionary poet and also he was the founder of Dalit Panther movement that I already talked about. His poetry critiques some caste and urban poverty. So, next is Daya Parwar, whose autobiography Baluta is a famous work which published in 1978 is one of the first major Dalit autobiography published in Marathi literature. Next, one of the famous key writer of Dalit literary movement was Omprakash Valmiki. So his work Joothan, published in 1997, remains definitely a landmark in Dalit autobiography in our Hindi literature. Whereas Bama's Karukku, published in 1992, brought Dalit feminism into its actual spotlight. Next, Kanchaliha Sephard, his writings critique the caste system and also it advocate for Dalit Bahujan empowerment. So they are some of the key writers that are definitely important from exam point of view, and also we must remember their contribution as in recent NET exam or other English literature exam. Every literature exam of our English literature exam is definitely focusing on Dalit literature, so we always have to expect either 1 to 2 questions in our exam. So it's important to know about these key writers and also their contribution to Dalit literature. So, in recent years only, Dalit literature gained its academic recognition in our English literary studies. This happened through the translation of Dalit autobiographies, Dalit fictions, Dalit prose and poetry, which help this whole Dalit literature to bring it in front of a larger audience. So there are some must-read books we should read as an English literature students, or also you can recommend it to any book lover, and so they'll also know about these Dalit literature books and all about this injustice. So here are some 5 books that you should read under this Dalit literature. The first is Joothan by Omprakash Valmiki. Next, Karukku by Bama. Third, The Prison We Broke by Baby Campbell. The fourth, The Baluta by Daya Verma. And the fifth book that was being edited by Arjun Dangle, named The Prison Bread. So these are some of the 5 books at least you should read under Dalit literature. Okay, so Dalit literature is not just only about representation, it's all about rewriting history from the perspective of the voices of the oppressed. So, this Dalit literature dismisses the narratives of the upper class. It demands particularly social change and social justice for these oppressed people. So it focuses or it brings more on the post-colonial and subaltern studies, which offers a parallel discourse to mainstream Indian literature studies. So, Dalit literature is a powerful literary movement that is being continued to shape our contemporary literary studies. So, it's a literature of voice, literature of resistance, literature of social injustice that happened to these oppressed people. So, here is a quote of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar that I am reading to you. So, the quote is, "The history of India is nothing but a history of mortal conflict between Buddhism and Brahmanism." And by understanding this quote, you can analyze how Dr. B.R. Ambedkar has helped us to bring this Dalit literature forward to larger audience. So let me know in the comment section below which Dalit work that has inspired you, or which Dalit literature work that you have read and that has touched your heart. So if you all like today's video, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more such content on our English literature. I'll see you all in the next video. Till then, be safe and keep studying hard.